I think it's something that's all-encompassing.
People are amazing. Honestly, they're just so genuine. They're so ready to just explore and dig deeper into their spiritual life. Students and people, young people that need that direction at the moment in their life, they can go to KC and they get that fulfillment that they've been looking for. They get that direction, and it gives them some kind of purpose in life. And I think that's just the best thing about it.
And I think that you have to devote your energy somewhere. So for me, this feels like the most beneficial way of devoting my energy to get the best outcome.
Everyone's been like really nice. Like it's just like really cool to kind of like be in a room where like you have so much in common with people. Like it's like you can talk about like meditation and like vibrations and reincarnation in a room and not have people look at you like you're crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Nourishing, tranquil,
Life-changing,
motivational, enlightening,
invigorating,
spiritual journey,
reflective, blissful.
Hare Krishna. I hope you all enjoyed that video and welcome to this wonderful session that we're about to take part in. First of all, yeah, just thank you to everyone who could join us today. We're really, really happy that you could be with us today. If we can all get someone to get if we can all have their videos on, it just makes it a much more immersive experience for all of us. And yeah, Hare Krishna, Sutapa Prabhu, Radha Bhakti, Mataji, and then everyone else. Some of you I do not know. And anyways, I believe after this short activity, we'll get to know every one of you. So we'll start things off here. And we have Sutapa Prabhu to actually kick things off. Now, Sutapa Prabhu, for those of us who don't know him, sorry. I guess another video started playing in the background with that. But for those of us who don't know him, Sutapa Prabhu studied at UCL in London. And he was actually attending KC SOC, which is the name of the Krishna Conscious Club across the UK. And now 20 years later, he's actually the head of the Brahmachari Ashram at Bhaktivedanta Manor in London. He has written many study guides and Bhakti literatures, and he's been involved in university outreach for almost 2 decades. So I personally have the good fortune of knowing Sutapa Prabhu, of spending some time with him about 2 summers ago. And he serves, and even though he's like, we're oceans apart, he still manages to serve as an inspiration to me all the way from London. So yeah, Sutapa Prabhu, please take it away.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
You can hear me. Wonderful. Really nice to see everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the introduction, Ananda Madhav Prabhu. I have to get used to that because we knew you as Aditya, but you've taken your new avatar now. Thank you. I don't know if that was that a Bollywood song that we heard after the KC Sock video? I think it was. I always used to wonder how Ananda Madhav Prabhu, he's a really good dancer. I don't know if you know, but he's a really good dancer. He really gets going in kirtan. And now I know where you probably got your moves from, you know, those Bollywood videos. Hare Krishna. So really nice to be here with everyone. It's really nice to see some familiar faces. And for those of you I haven't met, really feel fortunate to be with you. I'm coming to you today from Bhaktivedanta Manor. It's shining, the sun is shining. Prabhupada actually said that the manor is beautiful, and when the sun shines, there's no place better. So the manor is beautiful at the moment. It's very peaceful, of course, because we're all in lockdown, as I'm sure many of you are. But yeah, we're very happy to try and share something with you. I guess I'm going to speak very, very short because you've got a lot of things to go through, and I don't know if there's time for Q&A, but I'll speak something short and then anything you guys want to add. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Well, let's begin with Srila Prabhupada. Recently, we were doing some work with the BBT, and we were thinking of producing a new book about Srila Prabhupada arriving in America and his time specifically in New York, specifically when Prabhupada was on the Lower East Side in 26 2nd Avenue. And the title of the book, the working title, is Swami on Skid Row. And it's all about Prabhupada's early days and how he started the Krishna consciousness movement with this kind of eclectic bunch of different personalities, young people, energetic, enthusiastic, intelligent. And Prabhupada just took these energetic, enthusiastic, intelligent individuals and inspired them. And then he went on to empower them. And they just went on to do incredible things. They just really entered into a transcendental adventure with Srila Prabhupada, and miracles started to transpire. And as we've been putting this kind of story together about Srila Prabhupada starting the Hare Krishna movement, what became apparent is that Prabhupada never created an institution. He created a movement, something vibrant, something that was growing, something that was more than just like about bureaucracy, something that was dynamically changing the world. And he really created a movement. Like all these young people came together to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada just began sending them all across the world to different places. Like His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj talks about when he was, I think about 21, he took sannyas, and Prabhupada told him, I want you to go to South America. I'm going to make you the GBC of South America. The interesting thing is there was nothing going on in South America, so it didn't mean much to be the GBC of nothing. There was nothing going on. So, but Hridayananda Maharaj was told, you're the GBC for South America, 21-year-old. And Hridayananda Maharaj, he said, I bought a ticket, I flew into Rio de Janeiro, I landed at the airport, and I went into the shop, and the first thing I did was I got a map of South America. And then I went to my hotel room where I was staying. I had a couple of nights there, and then I didn't know where I was going to stay next. But I had 2 nights of security. So I was in my hotel room, he said, and I put the map of South America on my wall, and I started meditating on it. And I started putting pins in different places, thinking this is where I'm going to start a temple first. And And that's how the preaching began in South America. And now so many temples, so many communities, incredible things went on. Because Prabhupada didn't create an institution, he created a movement. Prabhupada didn't give his followers rules and regulations to follow, but what he gave them was a spiritual adventure, a mission, a mandate to make a difference to the world. And that's why young people came, and that's why young people were inspired. They were living life to the max in the Krishna consciousness movement. They were traveling, they were experiencing, they were learning new skills, they were doing the most risky things you could imagine. And like this, they now live to tell the tale and have so many stories to tell. Prabhupada, he didn't just create a belief or a faith, but Prabhupada, what he gave was a spiritual science. He wanted people not just to believe or have faith in Krishna, but he wanted them to dynamically perceive the presence of Krishna every single moment in their life. And Prabhupada taught his followers how to do that by serving Krishna with their hearts. Krishna immediately became manifest in their lives. So why am I sharing all of this with you? Because if we really want to experience the magic of what Srila Prabhupada gave us and what Srila Prabhupada wanted this whole Krishna consciousness movement to be, I really feel from whatever small experience I have that you really experience Krishna consciousness at its core when you go out and you share it with others. I've had the great fortune of being a pujari, giving different courses at the manor, doing different services at the manor, serving VIPs, amazing Vaishnavas, being in amazing programs. But what I want to share with all of you is that my most moving, mystical, magical, memorable experiences in Krishna consciousness have been when I've been out there sharing Krishna consciousness with others. Because when you're out there on the adventure of sharing Krishna consciousness, Krishna, and more specifically Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, becomes very, very active. And he's right there and he's reciprocating and he's acting, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And sometimes you just have to stop yourself and just in awe of what's happening. So sharing Krishna consciousness, there's nothing like it. It's actually, it's the only service you can do in the material world that you can't do in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there's no one to preach to because they're all devotees of Krishna already. But the one special service that's specially reserved only for the material world, only for those of us that are down here, and the activity that connects you to Krishna in the most profound way is sharing Krishna consciousness, preaching, as we say. And therefore, we're always trying to share that. What I want to share with you is that we're very fortunate. We have many Prabhupada disciples coming to the manor. And when I listen to Prabhupada disciples, it's kind of like a mixed feeling of incredible awe and respect and just amazement at what they did and what they were doing to share Krishna consciousness and the spirit that they had. But sometimes when I also hear them, I feel a little disappointed because I feel like our movement today may have lost some of that magical spirit, may have maybe left that spirit of adventure somewhere. It's still there, but it's still a little in the background. And I feel like the more and more we can bring that spirit of adventure, of sharing Krishna consciousness to the forefront, all the devotees will become blissful, and all the devotees will become extremely advanced in their Krishna consciousness and extremely dear to Krishna. So, so it's really amazing that all of you are like coming forward to try and do something in university preaching. It's like amazing for me to see this video that was just played, because I remember as Ananda Madhav Prabhu was saying, or Rasesha Prabhu was saying, that I began like preaching at universities maybe over 20 years ago. And it wasn't always easy, you know, like sometimes you organize the program and it was only you and the speaker in the room. And the good news was you had lots of prasadam for, you know, you could actually go back and store it for 3 days because there was no one to eat it. And sometimes it was disappointing, sometimes it was difficult, sometimes it was frustrating, but amazing things did happen. And what I want to share with you is, even when it is difficult, even when many people aren't coming and it's not as successful as you imagined it to be, when you go out there, something will happen. Even if, you know, like our former temple, who unfortunately left his body this year, Shruti Dharma Prabhu, he grew up in the same place as I grew up, or should I say I grew up in the same place as him. We grew up in Wembley, and the devotees in the late 70s did a program in Wembley, and only 3 people turned up to that program. One of them was Shruti Dharma Prabhu. The other one was Pranabandhu Prabhu, who's Shruti Dharma Prabhu's like partner in crime, still serving at the manor 4 decades later. And the third one was Atmanivedan Swami, who's a sannyasi now. So only 3 people came to the program. It was a huge hall, like, you know, it was huge. There's 3 people there. But just see the 3 people that came and what they went on to do for the Krishna consciousness movement. So you really don't know what's going to happen. Hundreds of people may come, 1 person may come, no one may come, but you know, the janitor might come in after the program and find a bit of prasadam, eat it, and then something magical will happen. Anything could happen. This is a movement of miracles. So, so yeah, I just want to encourage you, encourage myself, that let's rediscover this spirit, the spirit of this movement, to really make a difference to people's lives, to make a difference to the world, which really needs a spiritual message. And in the process, to really develop our own Krishna consciousness, because for sure, Krishna says, Nachatasman manusheshu kashkin me priyakritama, that there's no one in this world more dear to me than the one who tries to share Krishna consciousness. So it's such a privilege, it's such an honor, it's such an adventure, and it's something that when you do it, you feel very close to Prabhupada. You feel like Srila Prabhupada is right there with you. You know, 20 years later down the line, you'll look back and you'll have many stories to tell, many experiences to relate, and many amazing things will transpire. So those were just some general thoughts I wanted to share with you. I mean, there's so much more we can speak about university preaching. I'm here, I'm happy to stay on the call. You guys can move on with your program, because I'm sure you have many speakers. If you like and you want to do some Q&A, I'm also available for that, but I leave it entirely up to you. And I hope one day I can come to, is this Canada? Is this US as well, or Canada? Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope one day to come there. They say Canada is halfway between like America and England, like culturally, apparently. That's what I've heard.
So Dapper Prabhu, I was wondering.
That sounds like a good balance. That sounds like a good balance. I'll be happy to come there at some point and observe what's going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything we can do to help, we're here to serve you, and we'll be amazed to learn of what's happening over there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Sutapa, I was just wondering, back in 2005, you gave a class. It was a Diwali class, and you had an analogy between playing on a soccer team or a football team and practicing Krishna consciousness. Can you just share that analogy?
Yeah, wow,
I
God, that's
love
going back a long time. A soccer team trains all week and they do the push-ups, the sit-ups, they do the laps, you know, the coach puts them through the, you know, puts them through all the different exercises, and it's hard work. And if they do all of that hard work during the day, during the week, and then when it comes to Saturday, which is like the match day, when the crowds have come, when everyone's buzzing and it's ready to play the game, and they're just like, no, I think we'll just do a bit more training today. And it'd be like, you what? You've just been training all week. Now go out and play the game and experience the buzz and feel the magic. That's what the game day is all about. So in Krishna consciousness, sometimes I think like there we are in the morning, like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. We're reading, we're building up our Krishna consciousness, we're following the principles, we're trying to pray for the mercy of the acharyas. And then it comes to the match day when we have to go out there and share it with others and experience the magic. And it wouldn't make sense just to say like, no, I don't know if I want to go out and preach today. I think I'll just stay back and chant my rounds. I mean, it's nice to chant your rounds, but training and playing goes together. They feed each other. And when you go out and you play the match, then you realize, you know what, I got to train harder next week. Otherwise, they're going to kick my... So when you go out and preach Krishna consciousness, you also get so much impetus to go deeper in your Krishna consciousness as well. People challenge you, people confront you, your faith is, you know, put on the line, and you have to go deeper. So it's such an opportunity. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sudha Prabhu. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that I took away was that, yeah, it is an adventure. When you go, like, I remember when we were in the ashram, we did Harinam all night during the summer solstice festival at the Stone Edge. And it is truly an adventure when you put yourself out there. At this point, before we move on to the next speaker, to the next panelist, I just wanted to open up for questions. If anyone had any questions that they wanted to directly ask Sutapa Prabhu, please just unmute yourself and go for it. If not, then we can move on to the second speaker. And I actually personally know the speaker. She's a really good friend of mine. She really started the university preaching in Edmonton, really when we started it, I think about 2 years ago now. We really, as Sutapa Prabhu said, we didn't really know how it was going to go. We didn't really know, we didn't really have sort of really like hundreds just going, you know, lining up, trying to rush in through the door. But we still did it. And I wanted her to specifically talk about her experience and some of the challenges that came our way and how she was able to overcome them. So please, Darshina, if you can please share something, a first-hand experience of what it means to start a uni club.
Hare Krishna. Wow. Thank you so much for the introduction. I feel very weird following Sutapa Prabhu, because you're definitely one of the people everyone told me to look up and to seek inspiration from. So I feel a little out of place here. But yeah, as well, Radha Bhakti and Raseshwara Madhava Prabhu, I've listened to you for the past few weeks, and it's an honor to be with you guys again. So yeah, I hope what I'm saying will make sense. Yeah, so I guess like I've always been inspired by TSI Panavasena since a kid, since I was younger, watching YouTube videos and stuff. I think what drew me to understanding that there was a need for a youth group and university preaching was that I felt that my community didn't have that kind of chill environment for youth where we could talk about, I guess, tangible applications of Shastra. And yeah, I have to credit a huge chunk of it to Ananda Madhava and Pulkit. We used to do small youth sanghas in our homes with just a couple other people. And that really inspired me to send in our application letter to start a club, and everyone was very supportive. So I have to give credits to Ananda Madhava Prabhu for that. Yeah, in terms of, I know he mentioned that we might have overcome our obstacles, but I'd argue that we're still very much in the thick of a lot of our obstacles. So Sutapa Prabhu has definitely given me a lot of hope in his message. Just to kind of give an overview of what we started with and what we still kind of are dealing with. We started with zero budget. Our local temple doesn't have a core group of youth really, and there is, as I know many temples have, like there's a history, there's politics, there's all that stuff, fun stuff. We don't have a Sunday school, so we don't really have people to draw from. There is a lot of, I'll get better than this. I promise I'm not just gonna list bad stuff. But there's animosity between members of my parents' generation. So I went in very worried that there was going to be a stigma attached to our club because there's going to be a stigma against ISKCON, there's going to be a stigma against us, against the temple, like for a number of reasons. And then I would later find out that the great thing about, I think, our generation is that we're not like our parents and we're resistant to our parents. So if our parents all argued with each other, that means we'll all get along with each other. So that was a really encouraging thing. And I think because we have such a unique situation of a devotee community, we also have a unique club. So yeah, Ananda Madhava can attest to this, but our exec team is currently, we have me, my friend Simran, who is Sikh, and my friend Mira, who is half Catholic, and their family are devotees of the local Ganesh temple. So a very unique situation. The club is based in the Bhakti tradition, but at the same time, we have people who come to the club who come from like Hindu temples. We have Catholics who come. We have a number of kids from the Swaminarayan temple. And initially I was worried that there would be resistance, but I think, like I mentioned, our generation gets along really well. So it was a lot more agreement and great discussion than it was resistance. I think like 2 years in, obviously we could still be doing a little better. The U of A has 400 clubs, so it's hard to compete when you don't have the resources. We do typically monthly meetings. So starting with a bit of yoga and then philosophy, we usually bring like cookies from No Frills, which is a very discount store, because prasadam is a lot to organize. But yeah, if I know, as one example that happened recently where we definitely struggled with was we hosted a Vedic science and spirituality symposium. So we had a professor of Vedic mathematics, we had some artists come, like Bharatanatyam dancers, we had an Ayurvedic professional come, and then a couple of devotees who wanted to talk about their experiences. And we, again, so I thank Sutapa Prabhu for his past experiences. We had a big hall, and the only people in the audience were the spouses of each of the presenters. So it was pretty, like, I felt embarrassed and discouraged. I know it's easy for us, well, like we often say, like, not to be attached to our results, but like, it's very hard to put in practice when you're there and in an empty hall and the echo is really loud because no one's filling up the hall. And then COVID happened, so that shut us down. But yeah, I'll say, like, what's made us continue is that even if only 1 or 2 people come, and like huge credits to the other execs who are still really into the service, is they really want to talk philosophy. And I guess the people who come to our club, they're a very academic group. They're very critical, open, raw with each other. A lot of the discussions are really painful sometimes, but they're really beautiful. They'll very quickly cut through the fluffy and nice stuff. So we'll draw inspiration from verses that I ask around. We've talked about loneliness, imposter syndrome. We've talked about suicide. We've talked about assault, and the fact that we were able to talk about that with a group of people that were armed with like a spiritual openness kind of makes it like worth it. So like, even though it's not like a Control Alt Retreat, that incredible video, and we're not just talking about meditation and yoga, we're creating space for people really to talk about things that really matter to them and try to dig through the Gita and find something that's relatable to us. So I think like, if anything, that's going to make us continue to do like Zoom sessions in the fall, maybe even start a podcast or just recording our conversations, because they are so deep and hard, and but I also think like really powerful. So yeah, sorry, that wasn't as optimistic, I think, as hoping, but that was just my experience.
Darshina, your example is, exemplary, really, to push through despite all the obstacles. I was just telling a couple of friends in the chat that the fact that you've been doing this for 2 years in this, in the situation you're in, like, I have so much respect for you. Thank you so much for, inspiring us with that story.
Thank you.
And I'm also here to tell you that, one of the reasons we've started this is so that people can feel like in the future, like you can have some support from us as well. That's one of the reasons we're starting this kind of network, is so that in the advent of, in the era of Zoom, we can make it more convenient for everybody across the country and, hopefully across the world, for people that want to take up this kind of service. That's what kind of inspired this idea, was that we can kind of pull everyone under the same umbrella now in the advent of the era of Zoom. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is one for the books, definitely. And you really see it. I know when I was in Edmonton, you really felt the reciprocation. And I don't know if Darshina can attest to it, but when you go out there, despite all odds, you really, and yeah, it's challenging, but you really feel the reciprocation in a very sweet way. So if there are any questions at this point for Darshina, for Sutapa Prabhu, please let us know. Otherwise, okay, so otherwise we'll move on to Kishan, who is, I don't have a bio for you, Prabhu, I'm sorry. But Kishan is, I met Kishan in 2014, I think is when I first met him. I was at a Pandavsena retreat. I went to Spain, and that's when I first connected with him. And since then, he has just been like, he's someone I can just, when I was, again, in UK last, I think, 2 years ago, his room and my room were just adjacent to each other. And I could just go into his room and be like, hey, so this is what I was thinking about. What do you think? And we could just go off like 30, 45 minutes to an hour, just speak. So he's for me, he's definitely one of my really good friends and a really great inspiration, that even though by age he is younger, I actually consider him my senior, because he's given so much of himself to the movement and to really push forward this mission of Srila Prabhupada, especially amongst the youth. So yeah, and you will see the reason why I say this as he will share some of the things in regards to the unique preaching. So Kishan Prabhu, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Anandamada. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm really, really grateful. I feel very embarrassed to speak in front of all of you, especially Sutapa Prabhu, who's given me many, many years of guidance and tolerated me for so long, and Raseshwar Madhav Prabhu. So thank you all so much for this opportunity. I guess the purpose of me sharing is my service has been to quote unquote coordinate KCSOC nationally in the UK for the last 2 years. And I'd been involved with University Outreach for probably 5 years before that. So I guess we just wanted to share a few things that we try to do here, see how we can try to collaborate and work together as much as possible in the Zoom and COVID era. And yeah, we'd like to seek the blessings of everyone here before we begin. And I have a few slides. Hopefully they work. Okay, so before you think this is all like a really cool PowerPoint, it's just a template that I found online. Yeah, anyway, so I'll just share a little bit about, actually Ananda Madhav asked me to share a little bit about my journey into Krishna consciousness and through Pandavasana, through KCSOC. So, bear with technical difficulties. Okay, we're all good. Okay, so when I was a very specky, prepubescent 14-year-old boy, I had the fortune of going to school with one of my close friends, Abhishek. Some of you may know him. We went to the same class together. We took the train to school together. And he'd go to the temple quite often. I didn't. I thought it was for losers. My parents aren't devotees. And so one time Abhishek started going to some Pandavasana youth events, and the next day he came into school, he was just so excited, he was just so enthusiastic, and he started telling all of his school friends to come. Now at this point, I don't know if you know Abhishek now, but back then he wasn't as cool as I guess you guys would see him now, or we'd all see him now. I think you guys use the word phobby, like, is that correct? Like, yeah, so he's a little bit phobby, right? And so we were like, oh, whatever Abhi says, we kind of put it to one side. But he kept persisting, you know, week after week. It took probably him maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks finally. He told all of his friends to come. And you know, for 4 weeks, he was trying to convince us for different reasons. And finally he said, you guys, you know what, you guys have to come because there's free food at the event. And when we heard this, all of the inner Gujarati within us just lit up, you know, like, wow, free food, amazing. You know, not like we don't get free food at home, but it was an incredible opportunity. So we started, we were like a bunch of 10, 15, 14-year-old, we call them rude boys or wannabe rude boys in London. I don't know what they're called in Canada, but, you know, yeah, anyway. So we all start attending events, not really knowing what to expect. But I was very fortunate to make some friends who were devotees, very fortunate to have a lot of questions that I had answered, and I guess here I am 11 years later trying to serve in whatever capacity I can. So for me, I owe my life to Pandavasana, to KCSOC. And what we'll now do is we'll share a little bit about I guess how we try to do things here, and potentially the kind of the way we think about vision and strategy. So Pandavasanas evolved over 25 years. They first started trying to save the temple from being closed by the government into what has now become a youth preaching movement within a movement, I guess. We've now kind of stratified different age groups that we have, starting from the age of 12 all the way up until 25 plus. The goal is to kind of have it from cradle to grave, some kind of event, some kind of forum for young people to come and connect, discuss ideas, and ultimately learn about Krishna consciousness. So KCSOC sits within the age group of 18 to 21 here. It's Pandavasana whilst you're at university. So PS exists the overarching structure and with different events that take place. We kind of have something called a connect, care, commit model at Pandavasana. The connect model is our sort of outreach events where we initially connect with people through youth events, through universities, through the festivals that we have at Bhakti-yoga Manor, and just through, you know, word of mouth, how we first initially make that initial contact with someone. We then try to care for them through courses, sanghas, retreats, and ultimately get them to commit through different services that they offer through the mentorship system, which has been hugely successful. So this is kind of how we think about the journey plan that people take within university. Within the UK, we currently exist at about 30 universities. This hovers depending on if people reaffiliate and send their forms or not. So that's always a good admin exercise. And so, yeah, the UK is a relatively small company compared to Canada, country compared to Canada, but anyway, whatever, doing too much work. It exists as a relatively smaller country compared to Canada, and therefore things might be a little bit easier. And so our connection with the universities is probably greater than it might be elsewhere, but I think things are becoming easier in the Zoom era. And I guess this is how we think about, within KCSOC particularly, how the structures work. So the first point of contact that we have with students is something called the Freshers Fair. I think you guys have a club fair or something like that there. And that's where obviously everyone who's interested in signing up for different societies, they come. And this is where we send our best university students, even if they don't even attend the university, they go there. Even me, someone who's 25 now, you know, somehow sneak into the university illegally, try to get in and start speaking and connecting with people. The best part is also after Freshers Fair, there's also two, I guess, like legal things that we like to do. The first is we sign up to all the different societies, and when the societies send their emails, a lot of them will forget to BCC, and then they'll just CC. So we then steal all their email addresses from that CC. The second is we start to now go to the societies, and if they have like pen and paper, we'll pretend like one person's trying to sign up with pen and paper, and the other person behind them just like taking a photo, and like they're going to go through taking photos of each of the sign-up sheets and the different societies. So the Freshers Fair Club Fair is a lot of good fun. Then that kind of filters in this promotion for weekly events. After the weekly events, they filter into the national retreat, the video that Ananda Madhav showed. Then we try to have little Sangha groups, very much focused on basically just like a book club reading the Gita together. They've been really, really successful this year. That's something that we try to implement. Then that feeds into both weekend retreats and summer retreats, like Ananda Madhav was saying that he came to, with great speakers that come, Gopal Prabhu, Raj Vihari, Sachinanda Maharaj, to really, you know, get them to commit. And then after they've gone through that journey, we really want them to commit to a service, to mentorship. And we feel that that's the real system, or that's the kind of thinking that we think in order for their journey to be facilitated in Krishna consciousness. I think this, probably very similar to what I spoke on the last slide. So I guess in terms of a summary, events is the contacts, the courses, the sanghas, they're the nourishment, the retreats are the insight, and the summer trip is the real immersion. And we're fortunate that we've had a mentorship system within Panavasana for the last 15 years or so. And we feel that that's a really good opportunity for people to come and connect. So I just wanted to share in terms of how we can try to serve you all. We have a few resources. We have something called a KCSOC manual or a KCSOC Bible, which we can maybe share after the session. And that kind of is like a 40-page document, which I think we need to probably shorten because it's the Instagram age of low concentration. And yeah, it kind of explains basically how to set up from scratch, how to run an event, as well as a lot of online resources just simply on a Google Drive. So weekly talks that we have, basically 20 talks that are already ready to go that you can present, how to get things set up, some affiliation forms in terms of using language, and how the university will appreciate presenting Bhakti Krishna consciousness from an application. And I guess the final thing that I wanted to talk about is the impact. So when we're talking about university outreach, when we're talking about youth outreach, I think it's genuinely just the beginning. It's definitely not a be all and end all. And I wanted to speak about some of the projects that have now developed within the UK on the back of successful university outreach. The first one, some of you may have heard of the Avanti Schools Trust. So this is a government funded Krishna conscious school that has over 3,000 students that now attend. And we run the curriculum, we run, we serve them prashad. It's obviously a normal school, but it's completely government funded. And there is a heavy emphasis on teaching students Krishna consciousness. This is set up from people who've been involved in setting up KCSOC and PS and continues to grow today. Kirtan London, which is a project that is now run by PS alumni devotees. Om, which is an attempt for us to try to be relevant in city centers through restaurants, veganism, yoga, that trying to attract that crowd, which is now startup in the UK. And finally, Janvi Harrison. So a lot of Janvi's been doing a lot of concerts. I think in the US she did one, in London she's doing one. So that's something that's being spearheaded by PS and people who've come through KCSOC. So this is just the beginning, and I'm sure Sutta Prabhu will forgive me for also saying that pretty much the manor is now run by PS as well. We have our very own Sutta Prabhu who's head of the ashram. In terms of the trustees, there's a lot of people from Panavasana there, and the same with Birmingham and Leicester. Practically the temples are now being run by people who've come through PS and KCSOC. So both from an outreach perspective as well as from an inreach perspective, the impact that KCSOC can have, the impact that youth outreach can have, is completely transformative within a community. So I guess the final thing I wanted to share is, we're all trying to serve together. We're all trying to, develop bonds and develop relationships with each other, so that we can all work collaboratively as future leaders of our community, as future leaders of our society. And when we work together, we can achieve so many incredible things. So thank you to Ananda Madhav and Raseshwar for trying to close down the borders between UK and North America. I think post-Brexit, the borders might be a bit difficult, but we'll try our best nonetheless. But let's try serve each other, let's try help each other, and let's try empower each other to bring a global revolution on campus together. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thanks, Kishan. That was great.
Yeah, thank you once again, Kishan Prabhu. It was awesome. As you guys can see, there's a huge, the reason why it's great to have these resources is because when we go out to set up a club or something, it can be daunting. It can be nerve-wracking because there's so much unknown. So, but there are people who've already done this. They have already gone through the obstacles. They've already met with the challenges. They've already learned the lessons, and now they can just share those lessons with us instead of us having to, go through those same challenges again. So please, if any one of us is thinking of setting something up or is inspired to, please reach out to Kishan Prabhu, myself, or Sri Madhav Prabhu, or any of the panelists today, so that we can really help you. That is the thing, is that we want to assist you. Now, the last panelist is also someone really special, Radha Bhakti. I can't even recall how long I've known her for. It must be at least 10 years now. Or even longer probably. But yeah, since day one, I think the way I came across her is she tried to set up a book club for all the youth in Calgary. And we were reading, I think, The Nectar of Instruction at that time. And I still remember the aspects that we discussed at that meeting 10 years ago have still had such a lasting impact that I still try to lead my devotional life based on those principles. So Radha Bhakti has been an inspiration from day one. I can't even, if I go on to tell you exactly how that has been, it's going to take another 2 hours. So instead of doing that, I will just let Radha Bhakti speak, and please share what you have, share the nectar, please.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. He's not so nice to me when other people are not around, so I'll take it. Hare Krishna, and my obeisances to all of you. Sutapa Prabhu, I'm so honored to meet you. I've heard so much about you, and you spoke for 10 minutes, and I feel like going out and starting a new club myself. Thank you so much for saying that. I took notes. It was so inspiring. Thank you. And Darshana and Kishan as well. I feel so fired up right now. I hope all of you are as well. And thank you so much for having me. So I'll just share a little bit of my experience. I was one of 5 girls who in 2007, I believe, it was 2007, we'd started a university outreach group at York University in Toronto. We called it the Krishna Club because we're not creative at all. And so for all 5 of us, we had just come off of a youth retreat in Toronto. And so we were feeling fired up and excited, and we decided to do this. And for all 5 of us, this was very, very much outside of our comfort zone. So I grew up in the movement. I grew up going to public schools. And all of my friends know that I'm a Hare Krishna, but I certainly wasn't out there on the battlefield at school, sharing Krishna consciousness. So this was definitely something out of our comfort zone. And to be totally honest with you, when I was in university, I didn't share with all of my friends what I was doing every Wednesday night. I said I have somewhere to be. I think a couple times I said some friends and I from the temple are throwing a little event, but I kind of kept it separate because it was so much out of my comfort zone. So that's a little confession that if you're feeling that this is out of your comfort zone, I understand, but let me share some more. So we marketed ourselves as a yoga lifestyle group, and every week we would get together and we would have events around philosophical discussions. We had cooking demonstrations. Oh my God, that was very complicated in rooms without kitchens. It was interesting. We had yoga classes where we gave free books away. We had kirtan classes and so on. And every event had some element of japa or kirtan, and we had prasadam at every event as well. And there were days when we couldn't get it together and we had a fruit platter from No Frills, or we were cooking and running around the city and getting a toaster from somebody's house, and you know, getting something from one person's mom, and, you know, it was just kind of nutty. And it was by far one of the best experiences of my life. And the first event that we had, the 5 of us were there, and we had postered all around the schools. We had marketed, you know, however we knew how. And we did a talk called Our Real Identity. And it was something that we borrowed from the UK, actually. Sandeepan Krishna Prabhu sent us that talk, and he said, this is the first one that we do usually in our university outreach group, so please feel free to borrow it. And so, of course, the girls forced me to be the first one to do the talk. So I was super nervous, and I had prepared for probably weeks. I was so nervous. And the day came, and the event started at 7, and it was 7 o'clock, and it was just the 5 of us in the room. 7:01, 7:02. At 7:15, somebody walked in. This girl walked in, and we were trying to not, you know, to try to play it cool and not be like super excited in her face. So we were just like, oh, it's good to meet you. And we're like, this is so stupid. We pretended like the 4 of them were also new, and that I was just, because we didn't want to make it look like she was the only one there. So all these crazy things. Anyway, we gave the talk, and it was such a rush. It was such a thrill. And then she left. And after she left, it was like 5 girls that literally just like squealed. We jumped up and hugged each other because we hadn't had a feeling like that before, where it was like, holy cow, we just did something that was out of our comfort zone. We just shared Krishna with somebody new. Can somebody please guess what happened to that lady or that girl who came, that student who came? Somebody just say anything.
She didn't come back.
Well, you were supposed to guess that she became a devotee, but sadly, I don't know. She didn't come back. We never saw her again. She didn't come back to an event again. But that feeling was the most incredible feeling. And I know that her journey in Krishna consciousness was started or continued because she came in contact with the Krishna Club, where she had prasadam, she had the Mahamantra, and she had a little bit of philosophy as well. So as Krishna Club continued, we had a few events with some really good numbers. Probably our biggest event was about 30, 35 people. We had amazing special guests, Devamrita Swami, Chandramali Swami, like so many different people came, Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu from the UK. We had really incredible events, but generally speaking, our numbers were pretty low. But the people who came were top quality devotees, one of whom is here today, Jess. She's on this call. She's a product of the Krishna Club, and here she is on the call, ready to pay it forward to others, and she has been. And she's an exceptional, I'm telling you, Jessica is my ticket back to Godhead, because I played a small role in implementing Krishna Club at York. Jess is one of the most successful, incredible book distributors in Canada. What to speak of Toronto. In Canada, this girl can distribute a set in 30 seconds. She can sell you a Bhagavatam set, an entire Bhagavatam set. So it doesn't matter if the numbers are big or small. It's for our own purification, for our own fun, for our own enjoyment. That's probably a bad word to say, but for our own growth in Krishna consciousness that we do this. So I wanted to say also that the time is now. The world today is falling apart. Bhakti-Tirtha Swami says, he said this in Leadership for an Age of Higher Consciousness, which he wrote, I believe, in maybe the early 2000s. And he was talking about how the world is in dire straits and the time is now. Prabhupada emphasized outreach to students in particular because their minds are ripe. They're so open. They're looking for groups to be a part of. They're looking for friendship. They're lost. They're confused. They're open, and they ask questions that are so rich. It's different. It's just a totally different vibe than it is sharing Krishna consciousness with other age groups. And that's why this was so deeply important to Srila Prabhupada. And now during COVID, now during all this racial injustice, now during this crazy time in the world, people your age, people in university between the ages of 18 and 22, 23, they are ripe. They are ripe for Krishna. And we can learn and share with each other how we can share Krishna consciousness with others in a way that's newcomer friendly. We're a network of people who've been doing this for some time. We have Kishan Prabhu, we have other people from the UK who've been doing this for so long, and we're here for you. We can help you. We can give you resources. We can guide you. And I can also say that, honestly, at the risk of sounding like an old auntie, this time in your life is not going to come back. When you are in university, it is so different after you graduate. And your time, when in your 20s, I wish somebody told me this before I turned 20, that your 20s are known as the quarter life crisis, and it's for a reason. It's going to be characterized by an incredible amount of change between you and your friends. You will be perhaps starting new careers, switching careers, perhaps getting married, getting divorced, having children, moving. Like, it's just going to be characterized by so much change. That is going to be the decade in your life that you will constantly compare yourselves to others. You will have identity crises. Trust us, it's coming, and we'll be here for you during that. After you graduate, life is different. While you are a student, I know your lives are busy, and I know that life is complicated as a student as well, but this time will not come back. I actually did Krishna Club in grad school, and I was like, I didn't do this in undergrad. This is my chance to do this. I'm gonna do this for 1 year. I did my MBA for an accelerated program, and it was like, this is the year that I have to do this. It's the last year in my life that I'll be able to. And by Krishna's grace, I was able to stay involved for like 10 years after that. Okay, so the other things that I just wanted to say, a couple things, is that just the kind of memories that you make when you are behind the scenes, it's unlike anything else. The girls who started Krishna Club with me have become some of my best friends in the entire world. The kinds of memories that we have together, the kinds of laughs, the kind of shenanigans, this is good trouble. This is good fun. And what Sutapa Prabhu said is not a joke. This is a movement of miracles. And when you are sharing Krishna consciousness with people, he said it's mystical, it's moving, it's magical. It is not a joke. Take part. The mercy is there for us. You just have to grab it. Just take hold of it. Just turn to Krishna and tell him. Turn to Prabhupada and tell him, you know what? I want to help you. And it's crazy the amount of mercy that's going to come. And it's not necessarily going to come in big numbers. It's not necessarily going to come in the ways that you thought. But the blessings you are going to get from Mahaprabhu himself, and from Srila Prabhupada himself, and from so many senior devotees who will support you, it's going to be unlike anything you've ever experienced. When I was watching that, that video from the UK, just in my heart, I was just thinking, like, you have to do this. You will regret it if you don't. There will not be a time like this in your life where it will be the same. You don't want to look back when you're 30 or 35 and look at the 18-year-olds and think, damn, I wish I did that when I was 18, because now your life is going to be different. So please, I urge you, however you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable giving class, no problem. Call on other devotees. The other thing that's really important is Prabhupada always said that just speak according to your realization. If all you know is that chanting is good for me, go share that. Go share that. Bhuta Bhavna from the UK always says that, like, whatever you share, that knowledge becomes magnified in you. So even if that's the only thing you can think of, that's wonderful. That is sublime. Somebody's going to learn that and benefit from that because of you. I'll just speak for 2 more minutes really quickly. I want to tell one more story of another devotee who came from the Krishna Club. Her name is Nicole, and she started coming. Jess, you know her very well. And the way she took to the philosophy, she started correcting us. Like, hey, my name used to be Rashi. Hey, Rashi, your book is touching your plate. Like, you should move it. And like, the way she surpassed us, she got initiated in Mayapur. Her name is now Nandini Radha Devidasi, lives in Montreal. The way she surpassed us, it was the biggest realization that we are just instruments. Krishna has placed us in the path of people who are already on the path. And it's our job to help them from where they are and move them a little further. And in many cases, they're going to move past us. Like Jess is, I will never be as good of a book distributor as Jess is. I will never be as good of a devotee as Nandini Radha is. This is such an honor to be an instrument in people's lives. Sandipan Krishna Prabhu said to me once that when I die and Prabhupada says to me, what did you do? I want to be able to just say, like, hey, Jess, I kind of helped Jess in her path. You know, like I was this one teeny tiny role in Jess's path. So please consider that, and please know that I'm personally here for you. I know, like they said, all the rest of the panelists are here for you. I will dedicate my life to helping you do this. Please don't miss out on this opportunity. I didn't expect to be so like evangelist, so sorry. And thank you for letting me speak. Haribol.
What an ending. Thank you so much, Radha Bhakti. That was just pure inspiration from the heart and, you know, fire for all of us. I can definitely say I've known you for so many years, and of all the times I've ever heard you speak, this takes the cake, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, how do you top that? Like, it's just like, what? But yeah, I am Radha Bhakti, really, like, as I said, I think all the panelists that we had on today, like, they have just reinforced, it's no longer like, you know, it's an opinion. It's like almost now a fact that no, this needs to be done, period, right? And with that note, I just want to first see if there are any questions or any reflections that any of us would like to share. Please just unmute yourself and, you know, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I do have to say something. Radha Bhakti, thank you. You are my biggest mentor. I was definitely very emotional, what you were saying. But to add that, we all need mentors in our life. And Radha Bhakti is my biggest mentor, her father as well. Mentors give us this ability to be larger than life and to be fearless. So depend on each other. You are not alone in this quest. I know it seems daunting of this big task, but you're not alone. So mentor, not fearless, you're not alone. And Radha Bhakti said the most meaningful thing many years ago to me: to be dependent on Krishna is the most liberating thing. Please be dependent on Krishna. You know, put your faith in Krishna. Miracles will happen, and see everything as an opportunity, not just to grow Krishna consciousness, but to grow your own little creeper of bhakti. My question to Radha Bhakti is that, what was one of your most inspiring moments when you were leading Krishna consciousness in York University? I've never actually asked you this question.
There's actually too many to choose from. I don't know if this is not going to be like a big bang answer, but one thing that really inspired me was, it's actually, you're going to be surprised by this answer. So there was this one kid called Luke who started coming. Just, I don't know if you met him before, but so he started to come, and he was really sweet, and he really enjoyed what we were doing, and he loved the philosophy, and he started to come to the temple. So that's one consideration, first of all, is that when people start going to the temple, it's hard. It's one thing to bring people in. It's something very different to maintain them. And the temples are great. Just make sure that you're holding their hand while they're there, so that they're not confused when they see the two men holding hands and running in a circle. Like, it's a little daunting for some people the first time they come. So be there to hold their hand. So Luke started going to the temple, and within a couple of weeks decided to move in. And he became like a brahmachari and started chanting 16 rounds and was wonderful. In my mind, there were red flags that went off immediately, because I said, like, this is not sustainable. When somebody goes from 0 to 100, it's a red flag. We want to help people grow gradually and increase gradually. And lo and behold, after some time, he left, and we never heard from him again. He didn't reply to our text messages or phone calls. So I spoke to another brahmachari. I was very, very sad. I was very upset. Prabhupada says, or I think it's actually Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that says that he puts buckets and buckets of blood into each individual that comes to Krishna consciousness. And I felt like maybe we failed him. We didn't take good enough care of him. And this brahmachari said to me, why is there reason to lament? What's the problem? You started and continued his path on Krishna consciousness. He has eternal benefit. And whether it's in this life or the next, he's going to pick up from where he left off. So it's not an inspiring moment that, like, wow, another, Nandini Radha, which was super inspiring for me, and you too, Jess, But it was a very important lesson that kept me going, that helped me to realize that, again, we're just instruments. And by definition, like an instrument is just like, just that, we're just instruments. And so I felt humbled. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness as well, is that you can feel small, but so unbelievably significant. And at the same time, by being just a part of someone's journey. So that was an inspiring moment, the conversation with the brahmachari that really taught me the principle of just kind of helped me to mature in my outreach efforts. But thanks for that question. Jess told me she was going to ask me a hard question. That one wasn't so bad.
Anyone else would like to? This is your moment. We have Radha Bhakti, we have Kishan, we have Rasesha Madhaprabhu. So please, if you have any questions.
Can I just share a personal experience? So I just wanted to share, and I think this will kind of, I mean, it kind of speaks to Darshina's point, but I remember when I was going through university, I spoke to RB, and then I spoke to Kishan, and I spoke to the entire KC crew because I was like, I don't know whether I should do this or not. And I remember those years at university, like Darshina has a team, which is amazing. And it's so nice to have people that you can rely on. But when I was going through university, Ananda Madhava used to not really live in Calgary. So he used to live in Edmonton. And so, you know, like transporting the prasadam, giving the talks, like pretty much everything was kind of like a one-person job. And I remember I was telling Radha Bhakti for the longest time, I said, this is not working out, like this is so tough. But one thing that I did find was that even though there were days that like no one came because no one ended up coming, I think the biggest thing for me is that it really sparked my own Krishna consciousness. So it actually forced me to go a lot deeper. And if you are looking to, you know, like we always say that you should hang around, you should read, but if you are genuinely looking to experience Krishna consciousness on the sidelines, like I know Sutapa Prabhu mentioned it, Radha Bhakti also mentioned it, but Srila Prabhupada is like really with you. Like I don't think there's ever been a stronger connection between me and our parampara when you're putting yourselves on the front line. I remember one time, like we were distributing books on campus or whatever, and this one girl took a book, and I started seeing her for some events. I tried to like spend time with her, and I tried to recruit her, and then she just kind of dropped out because she came to the temple one time and she didn't have the best experience. And so she said, if this is what Krishna consciousness is about, I don't really want to be part of it. And so I said, okay, fine. But then actually a couple of years down the road, when I was close to graduating university, she actually messaged me, because essentially what we used to do with every book that we used to distribute, we used to actually include like a personal note. So we used to write, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for taking the time out to spend time with us. It was lovely getting to know you. And then on the back used to be the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So that way, even if they didn't understand the philosophy, if they just turned the card around, they would get access to the mantra. And she was actually saying that one day she was so extremely upset and she was so taken back with everything that was happening in her life. And she ended up finding the book because it was just sitting in her room. She didn't even read the quote. She didn't even read the card that was in the book. And so she said that it was so extremely personal. And I think that is one thing that I took away from university preaching, was that it is so extremely personal, and the connections that you may make. I mean, I didn't make any lifelong friends through my university preaching, but the people that I did meet, like it was so significant to be sort of on the front lines, but also be so personal and be able to relate to people in such a personal way. So I would definitely say, like, it does not matter whether 10, 15 people come. And I just realized it now because I'm done university. It does not matter whether there's like 10, 15 people. It does not matter whether it's just Ananda Madhava and his sister in his room and she's just listening to the talk that he prepared. And it doesn't matter whether it's just you are listening to the talk you prepared, because Radha Bhakti used to tell me that I don't want you leaving that event until you've spoken out with whatever the talk you were gonna say, and then you can feel free to leave, because she said, you don't know who's present there. And so I was just saying that it's so important that if you haven't already dived in, or if you haven't gotten the taste for it, in whatever small capacity that you can, that is so important. And definitely, I think it's really gonna help you also build a connection with Krishna consciousness that you never thought that existed before. So, and we are actually really fortunate. Like, I don't think, like, I had Kishan like supporting me and helping me halfway across the world. I had Radha Bhakti, who was just like always helping me and being that positive motivator, and even Ananda Madhava. And we're also fortunate because we've created a community where you can reach out to the resources and stuff. So I was just gonna say that. And Ananda Madhava, I think if you want to post the link for people to, so we created a Google form for everyone to kind of sign up for, so that way we can stay in touch with you. And I will say that even if you have a 1% chance that you're interested, just do it. Just do it, because everyone will get together and everyone will try and help you out. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, just to add to that, even if you're just willing to open, like, you know, just go to the process of opening up the club, the one thing we want to let everyone know is that so much can be done now online and virtually that we're happy to kind of get something off the ground with you and pretty much try to do as much as we can to help support you in this time. And that's why we felt like this time was critical to start something, because we could in fact start it where being present doesn't matter, right? And so we really wanted to kind of emphasize that point, that if you have some even inclination, you have the whole world behind you right now to help.
Literally the whole world, like people from North America, the UK, and even across the world. You really have the entire, Prabhupada always said that I've built a home that the entire world can live in, and every person living in that world is at your disposal to help you, you know, fulfill this. That being said, I think I really want to just take a moment just to thank everyone who came into this call, including the panelists. It has definitely, even though I'm not in university, it's like, I want to just take another degree just to get back into it. So just take another, it's going to be difficult, but and I'm not sure how it's going to do because all the deadlines are passed, but I'll try and I'll start another just to sort of get back into it. But thank you so very much. Not only did you provide the inspiration, but you also provided structure by which we can you know, make this a reality. As Malvika said, there is a link on the chat to staying connected, because as we said, we want to build this, you know, Canada-wide, worldwide community that everyone can sort of tap into and go from there. The other thing, so any last minute questions or comments before we sign off?
Hare Krishna, everyone. I have a question. I mean, you know, like I wish I was more involved in, you know, spreading Krishna consciousness during my 2 degrees. But, you know, like now I'm 27 and I'd like to think I'm still young, but I'm not in university. So like, do you guys happen to know like what kind of programs are there for people, say for young professionals who are not necessarily in university, but still say single and or working?
Where do you live, Amit Prabhu?
I mean, I live in Calgary, but I was just thinking in terms of preaching.
Okay.
So Amit, one of the, sorry, go ahead, Radha.
No, go ahead, Raman.
No, I was just going to say, for sure, one of the things that I was thinking is that if we get something going in Calgary, maybe you could still be involved in the background that way. There's still, even where you're at, because you're closely just finishing university, I think there's still a huge opportunity for if you wanted to share or support something that's going to grow. Go ahead, Radha Bhakti.
I said it in the chat. Did you just sign yourself up to start a new initiative for young professionals? Because we could use that too. And you also have the resources you need. But yeah, you're right. It's a different demographic. I stayed involved in university outreach forever, for like 10 years after I graduated, just from a advisory capacity. They had asked me to help give talks. They asked me to help with prasadam. You know, I tried to stay close to it as much as I possibly could until I moved. So there's certainly ways like that you can tap in, but also we should talk about what we can do for young professionals as well, because it's the same thing, just slightly tweaked for a different stage of life.
Thank you.
Yeah, Amit, we'd love to support you and find an opportunity for you. That we can 100% guarantee.
I just wanted to say one last thing that I forgot to earlier. I forgot to thank Malvika, which I know I have to thank, because in our first year, there were definitely a few times where I like panic messaged her on Instagram and she replied like almost immediately. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out. Otherwise I would never forget.
That's
But
because
yeah.
I was on my phone and have nothing better to do with my life. So that's why.
Yeah, like so as Rasesha Madhaprabhu just posted on the chat, the correction is Radha Bhakti is still involved. She is still involved. And as you can tell, she's just brilliant. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, what whether you're in school, out of school, whether you've been 20 years out of school, 10 years out of school, she's so creative in engaging everyone to still contribute to the mission. So yeah, please, that's why she's such an inspiration to all of us. Before we end, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. We're talking about staying connected and things that we can do. And so one of the events that we're actually happening is that's one of the events that we're actually thinking of doing is actually youth retreat that I'm sure some of you on this call already know about. So yeah, the poster's on there. So the theme is My Authenticity is My Power. It has, as you can see, the guests Sachinandan Swami, Vaisheshika Prabhu, Bhakti Marg Swami, Buddha Bhavana Prabhu, Mother Krishna Nandini, and Jagannath Prabhu as well. So yeah, it's going to be over I think in about 2 weeks, it starts. It's an online retreat. It's specifically for, the ages between 16 and 30, because we really want to try and see and build that community, because in Canada, that is one of the things that we strongly believe is lacking. So please, if you are in that age range, I know some people are, please sign up if you haven't already, and come get inspired, come experience the greatness, the wisdom from all these speakers. So yeah, other than that, I just want to take another moment to appreciate everyone who joined on this call. It was really inspiring to see
you. Sorry.
So yeah.
I want to mention 2 of our alumni who are also on this call are also going to be speaking during this retreat in some form of capacity. So Rasesha Madhva Prabhu and Radha Bhakti will also be 2 of our alumni speakers as well. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, and we do have a sign up on the link for the sign up on the chat box as well. So please, if you haven't signed up already, sign up. And yeah, we will, if we don't see you at the retreat, we will see you at one of the other following talks soon. And yeah, let's stay connected. If you haven't already, please put your name on the other form that helps us stay connected with each other. And I think Darshina posted a hashtag, Canucks for Krishna. Those of you who are from UK or US, Canucks is it means Canadian. So yeah, Canucks for Krishna, hashtag. Other than that, I don't know if anyone wants to add something else.
And just a final thought, Vaisheshika Prabhu, he has this, in his book, he speaks of this saying, maybe you've heard of it, jump and the net will appear. So my sincere request to everyone right now is jump, and Krishna promises that the net will appear. So that's just a final point that I wanted to leave everyone with. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.